Namaste.
And welcome, beautiful souls, to the Live Lounge, the Soul to Soul podcast. We're so thrilled to be here with you. I'm Caroline Crawford.
And I'm Paul Crawford. And on this podcast, we will be sharing our thoughts on the incoming energies creating the new earth, as well as our visions for the future, and the power that we are holding and always hold. And what an incredible opportunity we're entering into in creating this new earth.
Yes, and we're absolutely thrilled to be announcing that joining us today, after saying we're going to have guests on for such a long time, we are thrilled to have with us Washaila Sananda. Washaila is a galactic shaman, an embodied ascension trainer, a conscious life mentor, activation of spiritual gifts, and best-selling author of The Love You Crave, which is a course in ascension, alchemy, and connection to the divine. She's also host, she's a busy lady, of the Alchemy of Ascension Summit and podcast, combining celestial starseed consciousness and shamanism. Washaila holds space for humanity to experience the embodiment of divine frequencies. She is a conscious light channel, assisting in the activation of spiritual gifts and soul code, within her soul family. Her mission is to assist and support the ascension of Earth and humanity. And we are absolutely thrilled and honoured and very privileged to have Washaila with us today on the Soul to Soul podcast. Welcome, Washaila.
Yeah, welcome, Washaila. Glad you could join us.
Thank you, Caroline, and thank you, Paul. It's so good to be here, and I feel so honored to be your first guest. How lucky am I?
Yay! Yeah. So, Washaila, what would your thoughts be on these powerful and really quite profound incoming energies that are creating this new earth, that are coming into the earth now?
Yeah, well, I have been feeling these energies for some years. I feel like we are really getting an influx of creative energy. And not that we weren't having that before, but it is intensified and intensifying. So I feel like we have everything we need as the building blocks, the photon light energy, and the ether is here and ready to help us create whatever we can envision and whatever we can join together and create with clarity of mind and with clarity of intention. We have all of the tools for that present now. And I think the challenge is really staying balanced in all of it, because it can be intense and it can also be really easy to get thrown off of, off course with all of the distractions. So it's a lot, but it's a beautiful thing to have all of this at our disposal.
Yeah. And I think you're right in saying that we have everything we need. And I think that, we're being assisted more and more by these cosmic energies, but to remember that, we are all souls having a physical or a human experience. And the more we embody that energy of our soul, that non-physical aspect of us, the more we integrate that, then these higher aspects we can start to bring out in ourselves and to share in those aspects of our true nature. So we are living more in alignment with that divine consciousness. And I think this is how we will create a world of not only more equality and more respect and fairness for all, but I think acknowledging that it's important that we acknowledge that all life is sacred, and that as the more we can cultivate that and remember that and live in a place of true freedom, the freedom that allows us, if you like, to transcend beyond the physical, to allow ourselves to connect to those aspects of our soul, because our soul is connected to all of existence. And I think to remember that and to have that confidence to start to really express our true selves, which many of us are more and more. You know, we've had some great conversations recently, but you know, by connecting to our soul, we're connecting to that cosmic consciousness. And like you say, this photon energy that's coming in to assist in this, bringing us into a more enlightened state.
Yeah, I think, and you mentioned a couple of key pointers for me. It was all about intention, and you spoke about balance. And I think those are two really key aspects to us allowing ourselves to feel a greater connectedness, because the more that we can calm ourselves down, particularly, you know, in these crazy times, and I think they're likely to get a bit crazier. You know, things get stirred up as change starts taking place. Things become more stirred up. But I think those are two very key elements to us finding that true inner peace, and then that creates that energy within us to move into that new, more expanded way of being and creating a different reality.
Yeah, well, I would say, you know, for starters, you mentioned embodiment, Caroline, and that's where it all has to begin, because, you know, if we're out here up in woo-woo land where it's more comfortable, let's be fair, you know, for a lot of us to be out of body than to be in this physical container, because we are so expanded, especially those of us who are star seeds, which is probably everyone who watches your podcast and listens. But it's a lot to get into these bodies, and in order to be embodied, we must work through our traumas and process. You know, we've got to feel. Ultimately, we have to feel. We have to feel everything that's here to feel. And I think it's really easy for people who have a spiritual awakening, or who are empathic, or who are just super sensitive and feel a lot, to hang out of body, because it doesn't feel safe to be in the body. But our point of power in this life is to be physically present, to be in the body, to bring as much of our consciousness as we can into this vessel, so that we can really make an impact, first in our own lives, and being willing to look at what has, you know, what has gone before and what traumas we need to process out, but then to also be able to have an impact on those around us, our friends, our families, our communities, and, you know, put our energy into the projects and come together as community, so that we can create a better world for everybody. But it starts at home, and it starts with it. You mentioned frequency as well. If we aren't doing that, if we aren't embodying ourselves, if we aren't looking at our trauma and feeling what there is to feel, then we aren't going to be able to raise our frequency to meet our mission, essentially. And once we raise our frequency, we get embodied, we process all that stuff, we start to raise up our frequency. Well, then we're more capable and able to connect with other people, to connect with the planet, to connect with the earth, to connect with the stars, to connect with all that is and everything that's here in front of us. And that's where we really have that explosion of desire, when we have that connected feeling to each other and the earth, to want to make a difference and want to make the changes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that true freedom is that key, isn't it? By working on things that, like you say, have caused us trauma in life or have hurt us. And we often speak about this on this podcast, that letting go. And we're also coming up to a full moon and the summer solstice. So it's a perfect time to really go within and think, what do I need to release? What is causing imbalance within me? What trauma is holding me back from living a life of in a greater frequency, in a more peaceful state of being, where I can experience more joy? Because it's only our own perceptions and our own thoughts that really create that restriction in our energy field. And by being that compassionate being and that drawing on that energy of our soul, you know, then as we do really take that on board, we can start to move into that energy that's creating and moving this into this new world. And this allows us to come from a greater state of peacefulness within us, where we don't have attachments. You know, there's so many attachments, or, you know, I often hear people say, oh, when that happens, I'll be happy, or if that happens, then I'm happy, or if that party gets in, I won't be happy. In our true state of being, we have no attachments. We are just in that state of oneness, and we're not reliant on anything or anyone to create that happiness within us. And that is a true state of freedom, which we can all attain if we are conscious and we're moving towards that with, like you say, that community, and sharing with one another and supporting one another and having, you know, excited and mindful conversations.
Well, I think that sharing is very important, as is being detached. I always remember Wayne Dyer talking about being attached to nothing, being attached to no thing. And that's something that's really stuck in my mind. And then working towards really returning back to being a community, more community minded. And I know the other week we had a brief conversation about people returning to the land more. And I think part of that is that detachment. And you start getting back to be more earth-based, and being connected more to the energies of nature. Because I think the energies of nature are so much more in true alignment to the energies of creation. Because they don't get persuaded by all of the stuff that us humans do. And I think in doing that, people are moving away into moving all that clutter out of the way, and getting back to be what's really important. And that stems, for me, is finding that that inner peace, finding that greater balance, and then allowing ourselves to reconnect to the earth, and to find and know that you'll always be in a state of joy when you're allowing yourself to live without any attachment. And that doesn't mean that we don't care. It just means that we're not reliant on anything outside of us to find that true state of joy.
Yeah, there's so much there that both of you just said. And Caroline, about the letting go, that's surrender. You know, I think when we think of surrender, a lot of times people don't think that surrender leads to freedom, because it sounds kind of the opposite, right? Well, if I'm surrendering to something, then I'm losing my freedoms. But the truth is, what we're surrendering is our resistance, and choosing to be present. And the presence is what gives us the opportunity to let go of those attachments. And then, Paul, like the attachment versus connection, you know, and looking at the discernment there, where, you know, we don't want to be attached to the way, you know, to anything ultimately, because things are never going to go exactly the way we probably want them to or envision them. But when we can let go of our attachments and surrender our resistance, we can really get to that space of connection. And that's what we're all going for. And that takes extreme presence, to be present with what is in every moment, to bring our spirit to the forefront, and be willing to be with other people that maybe have completely different views on the world than we do, or you know, politically, that's certainly a big topic right now. And you know, as well as spiritually, or any other, like, where can we be present and just see, okay, this is another human being, or, you know, another person in front of me. And yeah, we're not going to see things the same way. How can I connect, and where can I connect, and how can I surrender my resistance to them and let go of all those preconceived attachments, and really just allow myself to feel the essence of connection with people. And that for me, it's a big challenge a lot of the time, but it's also the thing that leads to intimacy and to allowing just allowing people to get to know us and to be present.
Yeah, and I think being present with Shayla is such a key word, isn't it? Because when we're present, when our energies are fully in this moment, we're coming from that place of power. But I think we're also coming from a place of wisdom and understanding, because we're not being distracted. And I think this acceptance of other people's views and opinions that don't align with us, it's so important that we just try our best to accept that, you know, I say this a lot, we're all different souls, we're all on our own pathway, but the more we can embrace and accept, and the big word I'm tingling all over now is respect. The more we can respect each other's views, however different they are, that I think our strength lays in that diversity. And then we can harness that energy with a greater peace and ease to move us forward. Because I know very much, you know, there's a lot of talk goes on in the kind of light workers field about, oh, they've not woke up, they don't think the same, you know, and in essence, that is a judgment. You know, everybody is on their own path, but they're all at their own different, or their own, what's the word I want to use? At their own pace. And somebody might think something one day, but think something completely different the next day. But in the meantime, we've had a reaction that's like, you know, made us angry or resistant towards that. So I think just staying as the observer, staying peaceful without judgment, because if we judge, that's not the true energy of freedom, and that will prevent us, if you like, from, or cause a resistance into moving into these newer, higher energies, these higher frequencies, because judgment mustn't be a part of that. To just be accepting and let people evolve in their own way, in their own time.
Yeah.
I think it is. It's all this aspect of, you know, the integration of all those parts of letting go, of not being resistant, of allowing ourselves to be present, allowing ourselves to flow. And that all starts by having that intention to do that. So all of what we've been talking about, there's so many, and it kind of goes very cyclical.
It does.
Because as we allow ourselves to move into that energy and that state of being, and being more present with everything that we are, we actually then expand ourselves, and it increases our intention even more. And then we create another circle. It's almost like they talk about this vortex of energies. And that's essentially what we are. We are these ever expanding vortexes. If we allow ourselves to be that. But it's being, I think when you were saying earlier, it's acknowledging that we're here in this physical for a reason. And that is to expand and to bring that expanded energy into this existence with all of its difficulties, or all of its potential difficulties. And I think if we can really start to let go, to be our true selves, in the realization that yes, we're physically embodied in a unique way, but we're all connected through our spirit, through our love, through our true essence.
So we're going to come to a close. With Shayla, is there anything you'd like to say in closing? Anything you feel is really important to share?
That was so fast.
No.
Yeah, I think what I'd love to say is just, I mean, I love everything you guys brought up there. And this really is a time of the veils lifting, and everything is being revealed. The truths, the untruths, the places where we've been deceived. And so, you know, absolutely a time of non-judgment as much as you can be. As things are getting exposed, it's very difficult not to jump on, you know, on bandwagon and say, oh, see, I told you so, and I knew that was bad, and all of those things. But can we remain present and neutral and in a non-judgment, because then something else is going to come up and something else and something else. And as long as we're taking sides, we're dividing ourselves, right? So again, just always bringing it back to that point of presence and connection. And that's really what leads to greater freedom and more love.
Yeah, that's so true, especially here in the US. You know, as you know, we're from England. I think our accents gave it away, but the political divide is something we had never experienced. So we always say we're non-political, and things are coming up now on both sides, and you just have to stay as neutral as you can. I mean, you can't help having a little giggle at something sometimes and just think it's all this circus going on. And sometimes what is it distracting us from? Is it a deliberate ploy to distract us? But as you say, I think when we remain in our presence, in the presence of our heart, and drop into the energy of our heart, because that's where our soul resides, that's where it expresses itself, in this amazing portal of the heart, then we can start to really trust our intuition and be discerning, especially now, more so now than ever, with, you know, so many kind of parties and companies and individuals really trying to stir things up. Don't react to it. Stay calm, stay as the observer. And I think then these energies that are bringing us all together are going to create this new earth in a much more loving, compassionate, and with integrity.
I think integrity is a real strong part, and that flows from the more that we can be at peace with ourselves, we can be more integral with everything that we do, and very intentional with everything that we do, and being mindful not just of our thoughts, because our thoughts create our energy, but also what we're saying. What are we repeating out loud? Because that just amplifies everything, that the energy that is within us. So the more that we can catch ourselves and not in a harsh way, because that's just another judgment. Self-judgment is just another form of judgment. And I think so many of us are very good at that. But allowing ourselves to make mistakes, and that's part of this human experience. You make mistakes, but you learn from it, and you allow it to teach you and show you the way forward to a greater sense and a greater pathway, an expanded pathway of love. And I think that is our true essence. And if we come from that aspect of ourselves, then we're always making decisions within that really exceptional, infinite power that is that loving energy.
Indeed.
Yeah. That energy of the soul. Yeah. So, well, I hope you've enjoyed this, Shayla, as much as we have. I just feel there's so much more to explore. And I know you mentioned the other day, this might just be the first of many. I truly hope it is. Because I just feel there's so much more that we can kind of share with each other and bring out, you know, these other potentials that lie within us. Because I think now is that time, isn't it? So is there anything you'd like to share where people can find you, Shayla, about all the work you do, the programs you offer, all this valuable work that you give to so many? Would you like to mention where people can contact you or find out more information?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is washailasananda.com, if you can figure out how to spell my name.
Yeah.
It's always the biggest challenge there. So my name is my website. It's also my YouTube channel. And I have all of the previous seasons of the Alchemy of Ascension Summit go to podcasts. So that's all. I've done hundreds of interviews. They're all there on my YouTube channel. Anyone can watch for free. And of course, I've also got other, like the Instagram. Just started a TikTok. Not too sure about that, but my kids convinced me to do it. So
As they
trying
do.
that out, you know, And yeah, I also have a newsletter and I do an email outreach. So if you want to get on my email, that's the best way to stay in touch with me. And of course, you can always respond to those emails, and I do respond back. And you can find that on my website. There are different links where you can register and get a free gift, and
Yeah.
then you're part of my email outreach.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And I would say that I can't encourage our listeners to do that enough, because I've subscribed to Shayla's, and I always look forward, because it's always such good content, and there isn't too many, and there's so much free content for you all to enjoy and to learn and to grow from, to help us all evolve. So head over to Shayla's webpage.
And I will also be putting all of your contact details for YouTube upload in the description below. So I'm sure they will be able to find you without any problems whatsoever, and know exactly how Shayla is spelt.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I've really appreciated being on your show, and I love you both so much, and just enjoy having you in my life. Thank you.
Oh, we feel exactly the same, and we're just so blessed that we met, and we know through drama that we have shared many lifetimes before, sometimes very close ties. So it's lovely to connect, and I think that's happening, isn't it, with Shayla, with so many souls meeting up that have shared previous lifetimes, because we are all, and I'm tingling again, part of helping in any way, shape or form we can with this evolution of humanity, in these using, and as we said, embodying these incoming energies to create this new earth, an earth that can be so magnificent, so beautiful.
Yeah. And I really, I mean, I know we've talked about it and we will get it arranged, but I'd like to do this every so often, because as everything is changing, as the energies of the world change, then that will bring up new viewpoints, and we can talk about our experiences with that, and the experiences that other people are sharing with us, because this time, as you say, has gone so quick, yeah, just I think that would be a great way forward for ourselves and for our listeners and for all of humanity.
Yeah, so we can't thank you enough, Shayla. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. We do hope we can do this again. To our listeners, we are so glad you've tuned in. Keep shining your light. I think the key points were: be present, live from the presence of your soul, let go. It's one of our favorite sayings. Find that stillness, and particularly let go of judgment, whether it's of yourself, of others, whoever it is, because that moves you in to a higher frequency. We are so excited. We're going to be with family by the time this podcast goes out. We're actually meeting our family we haven't seen for almost 6 years. We're having a week with them in Jamaica. They're flying in from England, and we're flying just a quick 2-hour flight for us. It's rather a long flight for them, but we're so excited. Thank you for listening. Keep shining your light.
And we love you all, and we're really, really blessed that you joined us today with Shayla.
Yeah.
And take our love with you, and keep shining your light.
Yeah. Please comment down below whether you like this format, because we'd like to continue these kinds of conversations. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, like and share. We love you. We love you, Shayla. Thank you again. You're all the light you bring. And from us to you, from our hearts to yours, namaste.